As to Mr. Albakov's presentation, I was interested to see what I've always thought of as beehive tombs. The tombs where there's lines of bricks and then shale and brick and shale, and it makes a little mound, and the shale diverts water so it can't get down inside the roof and destroy it. It's a clever idea. But they had horns. They weren't just crosses. They had the horns of cattle adorning the structure, built into the structure. And if you wanted something pagan, there it is. And one's even reminded perhaps of the horns one sees in Mycenaean and Minoan art. We want to go back to the Bronze Age. So clearly there was some underlying paganism. I think the truth is that religious upheavals are never complete. There's always a residue in not only the habits of public life, but also the mental outlook that go back to earlier stages. And one can see this in a variety of places quite clearly. And often a course in comparative mythology next term. And one of the topics will be Iran, where we go from some kind of Indo-European Vedic-like pattern to Zoroastrianism to Islam. We go through these cultural upheavals, and you can still trace out themes that just will not go away. They persist. So cultural change involves not merely innovation, but very strong persistence of various components. And I think the cattle horns on those structures are an absolute giveaway that we're looking at some pagan retentions there. The other question was for Mr. Albakov is, to what extent did this variation or retention of older patterns distinguish the Ingush from the Chechens? And to what extent can we see this ethnogenesis or splitting in this area as the Vainach area as somehow tied into these issues of religious convergence and religious conversion? So, yeah, it was very interesting. Thank you. I have to go in a minute.
Let's open it up just to questions and discussion. So if anyone listening would like to be unmuted, just unmute yourself, let us know. Kevin, please.
Yes, I just want to follow up on some remarks John made with regard to the footage from Ingushetia, which I found very impressive. I'd love to hear the documentary with the sound, because I'd also like to listen to the the voices of the people that are being interviewed. And I think it's first, I know the region where a lot of that was filmed. That's Khevsureti. It's a part of the Georgian province that actually bridges the central crest of the Caucasus mountain. And that particular shrine with the horns, called Urkinis Jwari, is situated in the Arkhoti valley of Khevsureti. It's actually on the other side. It's actually above Chechnya. It's in the North Caucasus. And you actually find horns like that on many shrines in that area, also in Pshavi, which was mentioned briefly, or there's some images from there. That's often simply due to individuals presenting a bull as a sacrifice at the shrine on special occasions, such as when a young man is being received as a vassal of the patron saint, patron divinity, in fact. And quite often, as is the tradition there, is that when you present an animal and sacrifice, the horns and also the skin remain in the possession of the shrine clergy, the Chevisperi or Hutsesi. And sometimes, for unexceptional cases, the horns will actually be attached somewhere on the shrine. I think the Urkinis Jwari is pretty spectacular, but it's not the only one like that. And with regard to the question of the architecture that John referred to, the kind of beehive-like roof structure, that's a very interesting marker of especially sacred buildings throughout an entire geographic range, going from Balkaria at the west across Ossetian territory into Ingushetia, I think partially in Chechnya, and then down into Khevsureti and all the way as far as Pshavi and Tusheti in Georgia. What is interesting about that is that in the far west, in Balkaria, it's associated with mausoleums, also to the famous City of the Dead at Dargavs in Ossetia. And these are mausoleums with shelves inside where the bodies were placed. And whereas when it crosses into Georgian territory, you get a couple of cases where they're still used as mausoleums. There's one in Khevsureti at Anatori. There's a couple of cases in Tusheti, but mostly they become shrines. That is, sites used to bury the dead, but still special individuals. Not everyone was put in there, but were seen somehow as valued ancestors, becomes refunctionalized on Georgian territory. It's a really fascinating issue. I think it needs to be looked at by somebody who has a good background in folk architecture or art history, in addition to ethnographers. And so in any case, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of your work. I think it was a really fascinating documentary, but I'd like to hear it with the sound on the next time. So thank you very much.
There is other important marker of being pagans. Mm. And the marker is, are you winner or are you loser? After Roman Empire, Constantine decided to switch to Christianity, and after next centuries, paganism means it became kind of synonym of barbarism, savageness. You just lost. You can, if someone can label you as a pagan, you lost. Mm-hmm. This is very important thing. The area of the architecture, all right, in the Caucasus. First of yeah, so I can refer you to I believe it's my favorite historian and the only favorite historian in Soviet, in Orthodox world at all. Gamrikeli, Dvals and Dvaleti. Who were Dvals and Dvaleti? It was the country that was on both ranges of the Caucasus. What language they speak, etc., etc. So the short answer is English language. Second, about the okay, so Dvaleti was like area on both ranges to the west of Terek River. And as for bigger picture, it more or less the area of this architecture more or less match the state of the Caucasus, early medieval state, again proto-Ingush state. Second, and third about Arkhoti place, like certain Arkhoti place, which is on northern north regions of the Caucasus. Well, again, we are going back to who is pagan and who is Christian, etc. So those who were labeled pagan, they lost. The English lost, and the other, like Muslim cultures and Orthodox Christian cultures, they won. And the country and the culture was tear apart. And the place you mentioned, I mean, the place that I was filmed in my documentary, and it's totally like it's northern Caucasus. It has English architecture. They even still remember who built those architecture. I mean buildings. All right, sorry for tautology. So all the toponyms are English, but it's just evident. It's just another piece of the country that was tear apart and split between those who win, Muslim cultures and Orthodox cultures, which overall I call the Orthodox view for the region, which is against, it's like very old struggle like between the traditions of ancient Greece and Christianity, which became somehow connected within Western civilization. Somehow you connected that, like Christianity and ancient Greece. So you did it somehow. I don't know. So maybe you know. Yeah, but so this is it. So Ingushetia. It's my point. Ingushetia is a sister culture of ancient Greece, but in contrast to this ancient Greece, it survived Orthodoxy, it survived Islam, it survived communism, and it's still ongoing. That's it.
Yes, Ingushetia is part of the story. We unfortunately, we don't have much information about the religion practiced there before Islam became the dominant religion in the late 18th, early 19th century. But there's some very interesting, there's also a woman named Muriel Tsaroyeva, who has written about Ingush pre-Christian religion, though she tends to look for links to Sumeria and things like that. What I suspect was the case, though, is that there was something like, if not paganism, I think it's a word I find as well very loaded and used often as a term of abuse, but a system that organized with essentially specialized priesthood, unlike, say, the folk orthodoxy that you get in Svaneti and elsewhere. The Chevisberi and the Hutsesi of Pshavi and Khevsureti are like that. And it seems the Ingush had a similar practice. In fact, Sarayeva said at one point that one of her ancestors was the last pagan priest, pagan, again, scare quotes, of Ingushetia. And so I believe that these individuals created a system that had something like the structure of an organized institutional religion like Christianity or Islam. But because it was neither the one nor the other, though it drew upon elements, especially of Christianity, it was, of course, treated as and derided as a pagan religion, and therefore both the Orthodox and the Islamic authorities tried to stamp it out or to marginalize it. We're very fortunate, though, that we still have today in Khevsureti and Pshavi living representatives of this practice, and it's very important, it's very urgent, in fact, to document as quickly as we can their knowledge, because and unfortunately, they're getting older and older, and there are fewer and fewer of them still around. Anyway, greetings to all of you. I have to leave you because I have a session starting immediately after this, and I invite you all to come if you want to hear us. And it begins at noon, and it's called something about mobility in the Caucasus. And
excuse me,
it's mobility and something in the Caucasus. It begins at noon.
Something and
Look
something.
in the program. I don't remember the title of it, but I'll be there.
Good title.
Yeah. Along with some,
okay, the next session.
yes.
Cool.
So
I just wanted to add very short comment about Mahomet mentioning Vajab Shavela, Georgian writer Vajab Shavela, as a representative of pagan Christianity. So to be more precise, Vajab Shavela is the poet who describes the pagan Christianity in the Georgian mountainous region of Pshavi and Khevsureti. So he himself do not belong to that kind of tradition. He himself, if we go further, he is the son of the Orthodox priest and raised in spiritual academy in Georgia, and he was himself the teacher. So he cannot be part of that tradition, but of course he is the observer and explorer and the person who represents this tradition in his poems, epic poems.
May I reply really quick? Yeah. So actually, I traveled a lot in Georgia, and the Vajab Shavela he's absolutely, it's something, it's something from above, just briefly speaking. And but here is the very important point. First, you wouldn't when you describe Georgia as a culture, you describe it as a Christian culture, like 90, I don't know, 2%, 12%. You just check Wikipedia. But when it came to English, all those cattle, all those horns, etc., became prioritized, like a prioritized, and to label it a paganism. But when it comes to Hesur people, etc., etc., you would barely hear that they are kind of pagan. So they are. This is very important point. So this is it. So the same religion, the same system, but the Georgian mountain people were described as Christian within all the Caucasian war, etc., etc., etc. And English people were described as a pagan. It's a very important thing. It's real schizophrenic of all that, you know, orthodoxy. Just no logic there. First. Second, as for Wajab Shawela, that's true. Everything is true. But I can tell you two things. First, I've been in Ditoneti. It's a village where Wajab Shawela used to be a school teacher. Yeah, and this is and I learned absolutely excellent story about that guy. Well, they had some argument with priests of the local priest, you know, not priest, pastor, you know what I mean. So, and the guy was trying to take more land from where kids play their games, etc. from the school. The school was close to the church. And what Wajib Shawela did, he just came to the school, to the church. He take his rifles. He drew up on the wall, you know, next to Amphon, etc. Amphon, sorry. You know, I'm not Christian, so yeah, so I don't know all the ritual things. So yeah, and he just draw target and became shooting. And it was absolutely his manifestation, you know, against all that approach. And this is not Orthodox. There is no way. There is no. If you can give me other examples of such behavior, I would say yes. But it's not close to Georgian Orthodoxy culture. It has barely something in common. This is what I see.